Welcome back, everyone, to the HVAC 2.0 show. We are joined back again with Reedie, the man, and we got Ken. We got him off the lawnmower for the day, so now we can get him to so he can tell us some smart stuff. And TK staying hid behind the general right there. And uh, I guess we'll just hop on into it. Um, well, how's things going for everybody? What you got going on, Reedie?
I have I've had quite a good time since the last time that we had the meeting. I I've had since that time I've had seven um, free quotes. Some of them have been duct cleaning, so that's not really or duct replacement. That's not really, talking about equipment. But out of the three pieces, I had four pieces of equipment that I quoted. One of them is I'm meeting with her tomorrow. I think she wants to go ahead and go with it. But out of those, the other three, the one I went with a crossover, which is variable. It's not really super duper fantastic like a greenspeed or a 5 stage, but she went in there and she decided she was going to do that. It ended up being a $15,000 job. Um, she has I think 1,100 square foot house. Her load came up to like just at, on the likely load range, it came up at 12,000 to like 28,000 or something like that. I'm not looking at it right in front of me, but she opted to go with a ton and a half, which is it's the crossover. It's variable capacity, 2 stages. It and that's where she stuck. We put in filtration, fresh air. Um, she really noticed the fresh air. She really noticed the filtration. We had to increase the size of one of her returns. So overall, that one went really, really well. It was a first time visit. We had never been out there before. And she had three other quotes. And the other three, no one checked static pressure. No one, talked to her about load or anything of that sort. And so when we got in there and, you know, talked with her about it, showed her the pictures. I mean, when I opened up her cabinet just to look at the equipment, the evaporator coil was dirty as could be, and that of course that doesn't
Oh, yeah.
help static pressure. It doesn't help
Oh, no.
anything. But the drain, it
Mm.
was clogged up. The pan was clogged up. As a matter of fact, there was a piece of insulation that was laying. She had so little airflow. There was a piece of insulation that was laying after the evaporator coil, but in the blower cabinet, where the blower was. I
What
guess
size equipment did she have, Reedie?
Mm.
What did she have before?
she had a Goodman heat pump, and she had 2.5 ton.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's man. We always find that.
yeah.
So, so you said that she noticed a difference with the fresh air and the filtration. What was it exactly that made her notice that difference?
Well, when I got there, one of her things was she said it's dusty, it's noisy, and it doesn't smell good in here.
Mm.
And so, that was an automatic thing that I kept in my mind, wrote down, and we talked about how valuable and how important that was to her. When it came time to do the free quote report, I go over it with them. I went over it with her, and she goes, "Well, I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't like the frowny faces, and I want the smiley faces." She said she wasn't going to get a ventilating dehumidifier. She said she'd get that if she had to. And so what her big notice was is that the dust was not there anymore. The smell wasn't there anymore. And she said when it does come on, and you've got the ventilation in there that's filtered, it smells clean
Mm-hmm.
and quiet piece of
Nice.
equipment. Her we talked about dehumidification, and she said I'll just see how it goes, and if I have to do it, then I'll do it. I recommended the green speed 5 stage because of the reheat, but she said I just don't want to go that far yet, and if I have to, well, I have to.
What was
Yeah.
she looking at when you got there?
What do you? I don't know what you mean.
Like she had already got 3 quotes,
Oh, she was looking at just 2.5 ton,
single stage.
single stage, basic equipment. There were some, Oxbox and Goodman, and she just wanted something that blew cold air and blew hot air.
So it is seeming more and more to be the case that when you show up, people are looking for the cheapest thing they can find, and when you leave, they're trying to figure out the best equipment they can afford.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that pivot, it sounds like you're making that pivot for them.
Yeah, there's a lot of help involved when you just sit there and ask not only the 4 questions but the other ones. There's more help when you do the static pressure testing. There's more help when you show the videos. There's more help when you take some pictures. And then the final bit of help is in that report, where
Like with load range and smiley faces.
Right, where it shows those things. And because this is already something that they said they wanted, so it's not me going after them and saying, hey, this is what you're going to get. It's me saying, we built this specification, you and I did, based on what you wanted. And so, my free quote total on equipment, my closing ratio, if it's equipment only, I'm at 75%. The average sale on a free quote is around 17,000. My blended leads altogether, that's commercial, ducted, just duct or some weird thing that I go out to in equipment, I'm at 58%, and I've got an average sale of 15.3. And so that's largely because of this free quote process that we can show people and we can help them, and then they can make the decision. From that point, who cares? It's their decision whether they want to go with something junky or something good. It's all in their hands. And so that one right there, that was the least sale out of those 3. I had one that we were referral. It was a referral, and their name was the Wheelers. I'd done work for someone years ago, like 5 or 6 years ago, and they called us out. I did the free quote, sat right there at the table with the man. His wife wasn't there. She walked in towards the end, and they have a basement. It's a unique situation because theirs was upflow, and we don't really run into that a lot. But theirs, they ended up, their load, I did the load, of course, without the bloater. We have to do that. It came up and it said it was like 28,000 BTUs for cooling. And so what we ended up putting in there was a greenspeed 3 tons. We put the fresh air, we put the filtration. They're at $24,000. Before we even put the equipment in, when I was downstairs and the wife was talking to her mama called in, and I could hear them, through the floors. And, she said, well, what'd you guys do? She said, well, we're going to go with them because these other people, they ain't hitting on nothing. And they didn't talk anywhere near what this guy's talked about. And so we're going to go with them. And so she said, well, what's it going to cost? And she said, $24,000. I heard her mama, whoa. And she goes, yeah, but it's worth it because this guy knows what he's talking about, and it's going to make us feel great. That was a week ago. I went back out there today, and we dropped the static pressure. We didn't change any of the duct except for enlarge. We put a as big of a big air drop as we could because it was limited space, but we enlarged both the return ducts, the flex going to it, put the filtration in there, and it went from 0.7 to 0.43. So that's pretty good.
And a lot quieter, too.
It was a lot quieter. They didn't even know it was running. That was the beauty of it. We didn't even know it. And like I say, that was another one of those, the very first time we went out there. And I'll do one more, and then I'll let somebody else talk. This one, we had been out to this man's house before. This was also probably 5 or 6 years ago that I had been out to this man's house. This is pre-comfort consult, pre any of that stuff. And he bought a 2-ton greenspeed for his upstairs. But I went back out there, and they had done some things in their crawl space. They had a 5-ton. The static was like 0.7. The load came up to 3 tons. They said, no, we're not going down 3 tons. What about we split the difference? I said, perfect, fine with me.
Fine with me.
Yeah, and so we put in a 4-ton. We've got the fresh air. We've got the filtration. I've got the dehumidification because it's a greenspeed. I've got reheat, and theirs was $26,000. And you know what? We went out there, and I got that thing. I went over everything with them, and they said, I can't believe how much better this was than, because they had the old version of the greenspeed, and
Right.
I didn't really care about, back then I didn't care about static pressure in relation to anything other than, was it more than 1? And on their upstairs, their static pressure is it's not more than 1, but it's also not less than 0.5. So it's
Oops.
yeah, well, we were just following whatever. And this one, we've got that static pressure nice and low. When I checked it, it was 0.38. And all we did was we increased the size of the returns on the back end of it and dropped the size of the unit. That's $26,000. That's a great sale. It's a
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Nice.
So
The other one was a
satisfying to
better
make
sale.
people happy, isn't it?
It is, because especially when all we have to do is ask some questions, build their what they say they want, and then give them all the stuff, give them all the reports, and then let them. It's just like the comfort consult. They're going to do what they want to do. I don't have to do anything but be there guiding them through the process.
How was the first lady's static when you got there the first time?
Let me go back because I can hold on. The very first one.
The one who
Hold on.
got the crossover.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it to pull up. Hold on, just give me 1 second.
Can you put heat strips on those crossovers and then program dehumidification or not?
That's
Not really.
Only if you use that controller.
Crappy thermostat.
Yeah, that goes with it. That's the only way you can do it.
Okay.
So hold on. Just give me a second. I gotta get back to the page. I lost my thought for a minute.
And are you charging for doing static?
No, I don't.
You just do it as a matter of
just
course.
do it. Right.
Okay.
Hers,
It's been worth it because people are paying attention. They're not disregarding it.
Yeah, because the other thing I do, and I don't know how everyone feels about this, but the other thing I do is you can get the data immediately from the air handler. You can get the airflow data. So when I do that, I show it to them, and we've already watched a video. They've already seen the blood pressure bit. They already know all that stuff. So when I then can come in and say, oh, your static pressure is 0.9 or whatever, and then I come up and I show them that 0.9 isn't even on the scale. What would you like for me to do about that? Well, I don't.
So you show them the table.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And whether they have it or not, it's easy enough to get offline. So for me, it's a literal 5-minute process that
Okay.
the benefit outweighs any weirdness or whatever Dianne says about it. So she was at 0.6 and we got her down to 0.4.
Okay, so she had good flow when you were there. I mean, it's not that out of spec.
Right, that's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Reedie, you mentioned whatever Dianne says about it. What does she say about it? Probably sees no value.
No, she doesn't. She doesn't see. All she sees is that I've got this monster closing ratio and monster, everything else, and she sees that and she says, "I don't know what you're doing, but just keep on doing it." So
Yeah,
as long
she's
as
like cha-ching.
yeah, leaves me alone, I'm okay. And
Reedie the money machine.
well, I'll tell you, compared to the other guy's at 36%. So, I mean, you pick.
you're taking her. She's spending money on these leads, and you're tripling the money she gets back over the other.
Right.
So she's got that's going to be sort of frustrating. She's giving you both a cup full of worms, and you come back with 8 basses, and he comes back with 3 perch.
That's right.
Reedie, you need to take a month off and let her see what it's like without your sales.
Yeah,
well, that's why I at will. You ought to seen. We won't get into all that, but at will, I take off when I want to, and there's not much she can say about that.
How many comfort consults have you done this year?
It's funny because I've only done. I was just looking at that. I've done one comfort consult this year. I've done one comfort consult since October the 31st.
Oh my God! So it's going to be less than 5. It's going to be less than 5% of your leads, isn't it? Are converting to comfort consults.
Right. Now, I do have one likely coming up. Maybe not. It's a referral. But I will tell you, the last comfort consult that I did, we did all of it. We did attic insulation, we did air sealing, we did duct work. I put in a smaller piece of equipment. I did fresh air filtration. It was $50,000. So that was a good job.
That was the appropriate decision that homeowner made to get a comfort consult because they needed to have better understanding.
Yeah, they really did because I'll tell you what got me that comfort consult was that there's 2 bedrooms on the upstairs. They got an upstairs and a downstairs, and the 2 bedrooms on the upstairs were their bedroom and their son's bedroom, and those rooms they couldn't keep them conditioned with.
Okay.
Short of that, they didn't know that they had a safety issue with a gas fireplace and a return that was right beside, directly next to that. They didn't understand that, and they also didn't understand tongue and groove ceilings are not good for having a tight house.
Right.
Were you able to do anything with that? Spray coating or anything?
With the tongue and groove, what I did is where there were leaks that you could see inside the house, we sealed those up. She didn't want us to spray foam because she thought it would come through if we spray foam the thing. So when we blow cellulose insulation, and I don't know how other people do it, but we use water in our cellulose, and so it makes it denser. No, it's not dense packing. That's in the walls. We do it on the roof, and not on the roof, but on the ceiling. And when it makes it so dense, and there's also sort of a for lack of a better word, a crust on the top. When I went back and did, the secondary blower door test, the house is 4,800 square feet. She started out 5,500 square feet, and we got it down to 3,700 CFM. So there was a crawl space, other things that she wasn't allowing us to do, but that's a pretty good lick from where we started.
Oh yeah.
So you got her under 1-to-1.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that was the goal. I mean, I told her, we can always spray foam if that's what you want to do. How much is that going to cost? I said, I don't know. We don't do it. We could arrange it. Well, I don't want to do it. I said, okay. So, because she wanted us to do all of it.
Right.
Yeah. So that was good.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Ken, you were out on your lawnmower thinking a little bit today.
Yes.
And reviewing some of our previous videos.
Listen to the episode from 2 weeks ago. And in considering what happens with a free quote, it occurred to me that to compare it to when people are shopping for a car. And there's a huge difference. First of all, people have a lot of time to think about what they want for a car. They're usually not doing it in an emergency situation. They're thinking about it long in advance. They're saying, okay, this one's got 150,000 miles on it. We're going to need to think about that. What do I want for my next model? Do I want something sporty? Do I need an SUV? So they've considered all of that. Then they're thinking about what features do they want? Do they want mag wheels? Do they want an ultimate sound system? What about leather interior or heated seats or cooled seats? And so they really know what they want when the time comes for them to go get a car. And this differs immensely from when people are buying a new HVAC system. If it's an emergency, all they know is I need something, I need it right away. Better be something like what we had before, because they're not thinking about solving problems unless we bring it up and get them to slow it down. But I'm thinking about the first comfort consult that I had. And so
many years ago.
Yeah.
One of us has a memory.
COVID.
Right.
And the homeowner, actually, I guess it was even during COVID. Because of COVID, he brought his mother to live with him. She was older still. But the remark that she made was, when her husband was living, she said, during our time together, we may have bought at most 3 heating systems. And now this was a comfort consult, so rather than a free quote. But she said, I learned more in this 1-hour conversation with you than I knew from all of those. So we're trying to cram all of that information, ideally, as much as we can in a short period of time. And that's just not doable when we compare it to how people shop for a car. I mean, they'll go online and they'll check values. If they're looking for a used car, they'll see what the market has. And they know all kinds of information. They know nothing about their HVAC system, what it is, what it does, and what's available for them. So with a free quote, we're trying to help them understand and as much as is reasonable. And some of the other things from the previous broadcast was that we don't want to make them uncomfortable by being too much of an expert. Oh, great. I've got 2 dogs in the room, so one doesn't like the other. But we're trying to help people increase their understanding of what the heating and cooling system can do for them, all in a short period of time. And we need to be aware, this is where the free quote is streamlining things. So we're trying to help them understand what's available, what the 6 features of a good HVAC system are, understand the very simple thing to us of static pressure, and help them to make a good decision in this period of time. And so, okay, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around from my recollection. One of the other things was having a conclusion to the free quote. Because
Yeah, that's missing, isn't it?
yes, with most presentations, if you're doing a public presentation of anything, instead of saying, well, that's all I've got, bye everybody. And you know, Nathan Hale didn't say, give me liberty or give me death. Thank you very much. He had a wrap up. That was a motivating conclusion. So that's what we need to look for with the free, well, with any sales presentation, but the free quote doesn't quite have that yet. Some kind of follow up, some kind of a, you know, we're not saying, oh, you know, can I get your signature now? We're not doing that kind of a presentation. We're asking them, do you have enough information to make a decision? And have I presented the right information to you?
Yeah.
So
That's a really good point, especially with your analogy compared to people buying a car, of the difference in the amount of thought and time put into the decision making of, you know, like you said, days, weeks, months in advance versus right now on the spot. You know, they go from, I didn't even know there were multiple units you can even buy, to signing the paper. And something that I'm going to be trying to figure out how to implement well is to kind of extend out that it's, I don't want to call it the free quote process, because you're not doing it's just not sales at that time, but like for my membership program, for any time I go out to somebody's house doing a maintenance visit, you know, if you're doing it during the shoulder season and you are, you know, you're there because you don't have anything else going on at the time, you don't have any service calls lined up, well, that's a good time to start asking questions, like ask the 4 questions and start to get them to think about, hey, are there any problems within the house? You know, and you can just start kind of, you know, planting those seeds and going, well, just so you know, if you have problems X, Y, and Z, here's some videos. You know, here's the 5 functions video. You know, here's a static pressure video. And here, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and just get them thinking about that. And if you do that, say once a year, if they know every time, hey, when this guy comes out to do my maintenance, you know, we end up talking about any problems within the house. And you can start kind of like laying out things to go, hey, if this is a problem, here's some things you can look at, you know, trying to alleviate that. You know, don't do anything right now, just think about it. You know, so then when it does come time, it's not all brand new information being hit at them. You know, they're being hit, you're going into it with them going, hey, okay, I know
Kind of
my
familiar.
static pressure is high. So,
Yeah.
you know, probably a big airdrop. I already know I probably need to do that. And I know I've got all these problems. And can I look at those different equipment options again so I can see which one we might want to go with? So they're familiar with everything. So instead of buying something brand new that they have no understanding of right at that moment, it's closer to like what you said about buying the cars. They've, you know, they've already read the consumer reports. They know the different options. They know the different packages. They know, okay, you know, I'm looking at the, you know, the Z07 package for my Corvette. I don't want just a basic Stingray, you know, with the you know, the LT1. I want the Z07, you know, that type of thing. And so if they're already preconditioned to that, to where they can make a more fitting choice for what it is that they're wanting to do, it just makes that sales process when the time comes so much more flawless. Plus, if you've if this is a pre-existing customer and you start this preconditioning. It's just anchoring them to you so much more, because then you'll start having the same thing like what Reedie had, where the people are like, yeah, it's more expensive, but it's worth it. Like all these other people, they're not asking anything. This guy, we've been talking about this for 3 years now. And so it's really going to kind of cement you to that customer at the cost of a membership or a service agreement fee or whatever. And you can do all that, in a time where you don't have to go on every service call and have a 30-minute discussion. You can do it on your off time and start that conversation long before, the sales process starts, and they're on guard going, is this guy just trying to sell me something by asking me these questions?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Actually, that
Thank
might
you for looking at that video, Ken. I think we need to keep working through the order of the free quote and how that report needs to tie everything up as a follow-up, so that you can lock in your responsibly avoiding responsibility for their decision. Because what's going to happen is, a lot of these free quotes, people are going to get oversized equipment on undersized ductwork, and a big part of this free quote, the idea behind it, was making sure that you have proven that you asked the for comfort quiz and tried to and the static pressure, and tried to tie both of those things to the 6 functions and the smiley faces, and then also help them understand likely load range and why they want to lean towards the green. And then the fact that they didn't lean towards the green, even though that was your advice, will be part of the follow-up summary, so that later on, when they have issues because their equipment's oversized to their ductwork, and now they got to do duct modifications, and then they're going down that sort of hellish path of oversized equipment now needs oversized ductwork, and still short cycles even after you got the ductwork in, so the house is not uniform in temperature and it's uncomfortable. All of those things need to be owned by the homeowner that disregarded the process that we were trying to bring, which would have helped them make a better decision.
yes.
So Ronnie, probably
Tanner's idea, Tanner's suggestion that if you can bring this up during a routine service visit, might even be something to adapt that a technician can present. It does, because we don't want to extend the service call and make them feel like they're being sold, but we want to help them use forethought, be aware of what their system is capable of, what a good system is capable of doing, instead of just assuming, oh, I need a new box.
Go ahead, Ronnie. Talk to him about that.
About new boxes?
No, about what your service department does.
Are you talking about in regards to the comfort questionnaire? I'm sorry.
Yeah, they in Service Titan, they have the comfort. They've
So if they sell either a blower door test or a free quote option in Service Titan, it triggers where they have to fill the form out before they can close out the job. So the 4 questionnaire pops up. They have to ask the 4 questions we ask. They have to put a score in there. They also have to record static pressure. They have to get a signature from the homeowner, whether it's a free quote or a comfort consult, meaning that they declined or accepted the blower door test, and they're accepting responsibility basically if the duct pressure is high, etc. So every single call other than a marketed lead.
And isn't it encouraged that the service techs ask the comfort quiz at every service call?
It is encouraged that we ask it at every call. Absolutely. So, and they can fill that form out if they don't turn it over. So that's, but what I have found is some of them will put NA for static pressure, and sometimes they'll use I mean, if the blower motor's out, sure. You know, if the coil's frozen, sure. If it's completely blocked, they're supposed to still record it, but they're supposed to put a note: coil is impacted, whatever. You know what I mean? Or dirty air filter, etc. If they don't, then you know, it's not good for us or the technician, and they're kind of in. We had a technician kind of draw like a generic signature on a couple of them, and the signature looked the same, and we caught it. And we've had conversations with them basically saying they're forging the homeowner signature, that we're going to terminate them if they do that again. So, so they're really cracking down on it, because it's cost us some money in a few situations. Not to mention, it's not the right thing to do for the homeowner. If we're going to offer this stuff and, you know, stand by this, then we need to do what's right and honor what we're doing and be ethical. So, but it's been an interesting month for me. So I think I have a record month since I've been in the sales department. So, 397,000. Yeah.
Oh my God, you're going to break 400?
Yeah, I'm super close. 397 this month, and I'm over 50%. 5 of those are comfort consults. 3 of them were converted to free quotes.
So you only did 2 comfort consults?
I only did 2. So if I convert them to a free quote and they buy from me that day, I'll still go ahead and do like the leakage number, and I'll give them like a accurate load calculation, and then I credit the $499 towards the job. So I do give them the money back towards the job. You know, you get it here, you get it there, whatever. I did have one client, the first one ever, when I got to his home, have a list of what his expectations were and what he wanted. I did do a comfort consult for him 2 years ago. So he has like the square footage. He's got, this is a paper awesome. He had. So it has how many returns, how many supplies. It has ask about existing plenum. Should he replace existing plenum? This is a downflow. He wants the return increased in the hallway. New HVAC system. Does he need a humidifier? Does he need a dehumidifier? Install new vent in the kitchen floor. And he put Goodman and put a question mark. Should he consider Goodman as a cheaper option? He's got the square footage, all that good stuff, all on here. And he had goal, and he put in his goals all the stuff I just read to you. So I have not sold that job. I do expect to sell it. But he's going to be out of town. He travels for a week or 2 at a time. When he gets back, he's going to decide what he's going to do. But he's narrowed it down to either a 5-speed all-electric or a greenspeed all-electric or a hybrid. He hasn't decided if he wants to make the jump to full electrification. I've done 3 electrification projects this month. I've done a lot of hybrids.
Do you think that guy got a lot of his goals from what you talked to him about during the comfort consult?
Yeah, because the only goal he had before was like putting the supply in the kitchen. That was it. We went back over the report, and he said, yeah. And he said, you know, since we had this, it's a 4-year-old system, by the way, that he had installed. It's not sized properly for the house. It's way too big. And he's had a bunch of trouble with it. We're actually having to go there and adjust fan speeds between every season on the Ameristar system.
And he's already thinking about new equipment?
Well, he's thinking about the new equipment because he's had nothing but trouble with it. So when it was 2 years old, he was thinking about new equipment.
Oh,
but he also thought he needed to test the house because he was like, I don't want to go through this again. You know, there's some dude at his church that sold him the system for $8,000.
Score!
Yeah, and he was like, man, I thought I was getting a deal, and I've learned my lesson. He said, but you know, at the end of the day, I've got 4 years out of it, so it's $2,000 a year. So, you know, he's like, it's been like a swamp in here in the summertime, and I'm tired of dealing with that. But that was his words, a swamp. So
Well, then he probably should electrify because he's going to really like that reheat.
I know, and that's what I talked to him. I said we may not need a dehumidifier if we do electrification, put 5-speed or better in. I said, we can always add one later if you end up needing it, but you may not need it at all. Your odds of success are better with a full electric system. And he said, and that's why he wanted to give it a week. I think I was there Thursday or Friday, so I don't remember what day it was, but he said, let me get back in town and I'll make a decision. I said, that's great. I don't need to sell anything else this month anyway. So,
yeah, you do. You got to get over that 400 mark.
Goal. So,
hey, do you have leads tomorrow?
I have a pre-install tomorrow. Okay. I don't have any leads on me tomorrow. All the other sales guys are stacked up with leads tomorrow, but I think I've ran more than them, which is not the norm.
Okay.
But I'm okay with it. I have a second interview in the morning with the guy that we're looking at for Cincinnati at 8:30, and then I have that pre-install at 2:00. So.
What you said? Free install? You mean a free quote?
A pre-install.
Oh, pre-install. Okay.
From a free quote that I sold for $26,800.
Oh my gosh!
Mm-hmm. and that's a 5-speed with ventilation and he wanted every air quality product that our company offered basically. And I said, well, you don't need them all, but we'll narrow it down to what's more important. But he's doing fresh air. He's doing ultraviolet light. This guy is doing zoning. But he's doing modulating zoning. He's doing full infinity. We are relocating the air handler from a closet to the garage. So I am dropping it down to a 2-ton. It's a 3-story condo that's 1,850 square feet. It's pinned between 2 other units. It's right in the middle.
Oh, so no load.
No load, yeah. And he actually seen us install a couple doors down for another company, and he seen that we ripped the old wood box out and replaced it with metal. And he said he really liked the way the install looked because he looked at his neighbor's system. So he actually uses a different service provider for his maintenance, and he told me that based on the conversations he had with them, he found that they were not the right company for him to buy equipment from. And based on the conversation he had with me and all the questions I asked, he called me back the next day. He didn't buy on the spot, which I wasn't trying to. He called me back the next day. I gave him some ranges, and then he gave me basically what he wanted to do. He narrowed it down to the 2 best, and then it was worth it for him to save the $4,000 to do the 5-stage over the greenspeed. And he said that this is at least a 5-year home, but he don't know if it's forever for the next couple years because he's not sure that they're going to like the condo living where they're attached to other buildings. So, he said this is going to be good enough. It's going to be good enough for whoever we sell it to. So,
well, and
but
in a small place like that with a low load,
yeah,
it's probably the right decision.
I agree. And I told him, I said, that's totally understand. So, but we're pre-in that one tomorrow. And then I sold a couple 2-system jobs this month. One was a hybrid 5-speed. One was a full electric 5-speed. The other one was a hybrid with a 2-stage and a electrification where I converted his second system to electric, no backup resistance with a 2-speed heat pump. There's been so many. I sold a greenspeed today on a free quote, a hybrid greenspeed. I dropped it a ton from a 5 to a 4.
Like the load range?
So between 30,000 to 48, and they went with a 48. So
you that's their decision, right?
That is. We did do a 90 with that 4-ton, so a 90K furnace 2-speed.
Okay.
Actually, we offered it as a 3.5, but as you know, the greenspeed doesn't have So they went in the middle, so to speak, but they still went down a ton. But they went with the best one. They did not do any fresh air. They went with ultraviolet light, which the service technicians going out and showing all these brochures on these UV lights we offer. And I'm not even trying to sell them these UV lights. They're actually having me add them to the job. Like, I'll go on prices. They're like, does this include that UV light that the service guy was talking about? And I'm like, no, but we can look at that if you want. You know, and they want
They're already anchored to it.
I'm having them ask me to do it, so that way I'm not I don't feel bad about selling it to them. So
right.
And I told these folks, I said, removing that humidifier that's full of mold is probably going to take care of the issue in your coil. Because the humidifier was like, they cut the side of the evaporator coil out and they stuck it there for some reason. And it's been leaking. And it's like this. I said, there's a better way. We can put a humidifier in the right way. They're like, we don't think we need it. We've had it turned off for 2 years. It's not been dry in here. So we think we're okay without it. And I said, if that's fine with me, if that's what you want to do. So, so we took it out. So we're taking it out.
But they still want to burn all that electricity on the light.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're okay with it. So, the one that we put in or the ones we're putting in now are they come on. We hook them to the EAC terminal. They're made to kick on and off. They're not like a glow all the time type light, which I'm not a big fan of these lights, but our company likes them and they want to sell them. And I don't know if you all heard of Premier, but we sell them as Capture or something. It's the same thing. I think they're out of Ohio or Minneapolis, Minnesota or something. I don't know. But I'm not really trying to move them. That's what the company wants to move. So that's what the technicians are selling them. The techs are selling them. Well, one tech
people up
specifically. But it's been crazy. Yeah, and then it's funny because I did 2 comfort consults. One of them has not sold yet. The one of them that I did that Cody had turned over to me, but it's a 4-year-old house, and I'm not sure what he's wanting to do. He kind of really couldn't do what he wanted to do really wasn't in his budget. And he really wants to zone his system. And I said, we can do that if that's what you want to do, but you have a single speed, oversized piece of equipment. And, there's some problems with it. You have a refrigerant leak. I'm just not, I'm not sure that that's what you want to do. And he's like,
he needs to spend more time on the mixing stuff, understanding mixing.
And I offered it to him anyway. I mean, I didn't recommend it. I said, we can do this option if that's what you want to do. And I gave him that option because that was his goal, for just to zone that system.
Mm-hmm.
And then I gave him a really good deal on a 2-speed. I gave it to him. He could do the whole 2-speed all electric system for $7,000 more. So I was just trying to, because I mean, it was over his budget, but I was trying to just like, hey, let's not make a bad choice. Really should do a 5-speed or better, but if we're gonna, zone this thing, maybe at least do this guy here. And I was gonna do like an infinity air handler with a NIM and give him a 2-speed heat pump. That way he had better dehumidification with the 2-speed even. I mean, I really trying with him. So, but I just think it's unrealistic for the money he has to. The dude put like 15 solar panels on his house, and which I have no idea why he did that. It doesn't even do a third of his. He's like, well, that's all I could do on the back, and the HOA won't let me put them on the front. But I wanted solar really bad, and I'm like, well, that's great, but
yeah,
the money you spent is not.
You could have done this.
Yeah, I was like, well, that's what I tried. I even told him that. I said, man, yeah, I'm not trying to make you feel bad about your investment, but if we'd have did like a 5-speed and did everything you wanted to do, you would have been in better shape than putting solar on here with what you have. That would have. He's like, yeah, I know that now. So
Huh.
But he has a plug-in hybrid that he drives, and so he's all about.
So he does a lot of things halfway and half-assed.
He does, and that's why I think I might have stuck my foot in my mouth, but I didn't want him to make a bad decision with me.
Yes.
So he really can't afford to do what he wants to do in terms of HVAC. So I think he might wait a little bit until he's in a better financial place to do it and just deal with it for now.
Yeah.
Which I'm cool with that. I'll pick him up on the flip side. In 2 years, he might call me and say, "Hey, Ronnie, paid that solar off I shouldn't have bought. You think you can help me out now?" So I'm hoping that's the way it goes. But yeah.
Well,
so
congratulations on an amazing month.
Yeah, and it's been mostly on. I mean, I've been doing free quote on a lot of it. So, and I've been higher than other companies. I have lost a couple of them because I was higher, but most of them folks were just looking for the best price. I had a guy tell me he wanted a 5-ton put in his house, and he had a 3. And I really advised him that we shouldn't do that. But I did offer him a 5-ton because that's what he asked me for. I also offered him, he needed a 3-ton based on likely load, and he had a 3-ton. They were comfortable with a 3-ton.
Well, so why would he go up in size for no apparent reason?
He just thinks bigger is better, and he's like, well, in my last house, you all put a 5-ton in it, and I was like, well, maybe your last house needed a 5-ton. I said, I'm looking at your last house, and it was at least 1,000 square foot bigger than this. And he's like, well, how do you know that? So I have the records. We sold you the system. It's right here. So it was at least 1,000, and it was an older house.
And the notes we have on here say the house was a piece of crap, and this is a nice house.
It was a way older house. And he said, wow, it was great. So he's like, well, I got prices from 2 other companies. They didn't have a problem selling me a 5-ton. I said, I bet they didn't. 5-ton units cost more than 3-ton units. And I said, I'm happy to sell you a 5-ton too, if that's what you want. But if you have a lot of trouble with it, I'm not going to be here to back you up. And, if I don't win this job because of that's okay. Because I personally don't think you're making a good decision. But if you want to make that decision, then you can.
Yours to make.
It's yours to make. And he did not like me telling him any of that. Like
so he probably did get somebody who's owning that decision.
He 100% did, because Wednesday last week he was making a decision, and I called him and followed up with him and his wife, and they act like they hadn't made a decision yet. They let me know, and I haven't heard it. It was Wednesday, which I told them they said we're getting our last quote on Wednesday at 8 a.m. We'll have a decision by Wednesday evening. I called him at 5:30 Wednesday evening. I said, hey.
Wow. Were you tempted to say, here's a tip? When that person says they're happy to put a 5-ton, you make sure that they take responsibility and give you 10-year parts and labor.
Yeah, I told him to make sure he's getting 10-year parts and labor, because he's going to need it if he puts a 5-ton. Was straight up.
I got to go, guys. I'll see you later.
Reedie, thank you.
Reedie.
Nice to see
Congratulations, Ronnie. Awesome.
Thanks, man.
See you in 2 weeks.
Yep, see you.
I hope.
Is he going on vacation?
No, we're doing this every 2 weeks during the summer. When we had our Monday meetings originally, and they were private, come to summertime and people wouldn't show up every week.
Well, yeah, it's because we work a lot more hours in the summer, and then we don't
Plus,
do
it's
nothing.
daylight out.
Yeah.
Who wants to come inside when you get such short period of long days?
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody wants to be outside.
Yeah, but I only ran the one quote today. I did follow up with a fella that I ran a free quote on Friday. He's not going with me. I'm $1,100 higher than the other company. Plus, they're putting 100,000 BTU 2-stage in, and I offered him a 70.
Oh, so he's getting a much better deal.
He's getting a much better. That's what he said. I'm getting a much better deal. He said the labor warranty is only 5 years instead of 10, like yours, but it is $1,100 cheaper. He said it's Train, so it's a name brand.
Okay.
But it is 100,000 2-speed with a 2.5-ton air conditioner. And I was like, that's very interesting. He's like, what do you mean? I said, I wasn't aware that 100,000 BTU furnace, the
Could
blower
match up
matched
to
up
two
with
and a half.
a 2.5 ton. And I said, maybe Train does. I don't know. So,
Yeah.
and this is an upright second system. His whole house, the likely load on his whole house is 52,000 BTUs of heat. Like, like that's the top. That's the most.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So he
That's
has
in the
100
red.
downstairs with a 3.5 ton, and now he's going to have 100 upstairs with a 2.5 ton.
Right.
And
I love it when people sell reserve capacity.
Reserve.
and that's what he was like. And I said, sir, your furnace downstairs is enough for this entire home. That 100K 2-speed they're putting in will never run it and at a low. It's going to run in low. I mean, you're overpaying.
Yeah, it's going to short
he's
cycle
not
on
overpaying.
limit, and that heat exchanger is going to burn out.
Oh, and you should have seen the ductwork. The ductwork, he doesn't have ductwork for the furnace that's up there. Might be 100K now that I think about it, but this is the furnace that's there now. You see that nice duct system right there?
Oh, wow. So that's definitely 5 ton of duct, isn't it?
He has 4 8-inch returns on that flexible duct. 2 of them are folded on top. You see those? There's no 90s on those.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oh, jeez. Oh,
and I told him I was going to fix those.
Okay.
Yeah, that was Friday at 10:25 a.m. So the guy said, I really liked you, Ronnie, and I really liked what you had to say, but $1,100 is a lot of extra money for a system. And I'm not sure that, I'm not sure that I can justify it.
He's getting more for less. That's how he's looking at it.
That's exactly. And he was a salesperson too. So
mindset is impossible to overcome.
He sold medical equipment is what he sold.
I think when we get this report settled and you're able to send the report afterwards so that it reviews all the things you went over, I think some of these jobs will close.
No, I know that some of them are going to that I haven't closed. They always
no.
do.
I mean, you probably would have won that if we had this report dialed.
I don't think so, because I went over all that. He said, I really like the questions you asked. You were very detailed. You really cared about what I needed, what I was asking for. You were very specific. You followed up when you said you would follow up. You bent over backwards to answer me in the evening when I called you and messages I sent you. And he's like, you were great. And your company seems to be a great company.
But the report's going to document he's a dumbass.
But we don't want
that.
Great. We don't want great.
And this dude's in like $1 million house. I mean, I don't
Oh,
know,
boy.
$1,000. I mean,
wow.
Yeah.
I mean, at least he can afford to buy another system when this one, craps the bed.
Right.
So,
Right,
it was
you were right.
Beautiful, beautiful home. I mean, his home was insane.
Wow.
Like, it's right on like a lake in Prospect, which is like the most expensive town to live in Louisville. Like, Prospect is in Kentucky, actually. It's the highest tax. Like the property tax is higher than anywhere else in the state. And his home was beautiful. I mean, it was like 7,000 square foot house. It was vaulted, great room, $10,000 chandeliers hanging in this house. I mean, a chandelier costs more than his HVAC system, So seriously, and he was like, I just want the basic. And at first he told me he just wanted an AC coil. And I was like, cool. So I gave him AC coil quotes. He's like, oh, the other company actually gave me full systems. And I was like, well, you said they were like around $7,000 though, right? And he said, yeah. And I was like, for an entire system? And he's like, yes. And I was like, I don't know, you might call him and double check, And I said, I'd encourage you to reach out to him and make sure there's not a mistake here and find out what they're selling you. And I said, I really don't care exactly what the price is. That's not my interest. I'm just curious into what they're offering you. And he told me everything. And I said, that's a really cheap price, but it's not the equipment that you need. And he's like, what's up there now? I said, you have a 90 up there now. I think it's a 90. And he's like, well, they're going to put 100 in. I'm like, I don't know that I would do that.
Congratulations to you.
I don't know. I said, a 70 is too big. I said, it's just the smallest furnace I can sell you on that air conditioner. So that's,
wow.
and he was like, I just can't get over the price. I said, well, maybe ask them to put a 60 in or something, like, instead, if they have one. So I think Train is like 60, 80, 100 on 80%. It's like, maybe try to get a 60, and he's like, well, they're going to put 100 back in there, I already know. So
yeah, put a 60 in and see if they'll knock another 500 off.
And that's what I told him. I was like, maybe I said, unless they only buy 100,000 BTU furnaces and they get a really good deal on them or something, maybe they do.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, at one of the supply houses here, when they started, and this is many, many years ago, they were told by whoever provided them, all you need to stock is 100,000 BTU furnaces and 3-ton air conditioners. Mm-hmm. Don't need to stock anything else.
That makes sense.
Mindset still exists.
Well, that's before, as Jason Cecil would put it, there was this war on things that work. Everything there's a war on things that work. They got to make it ever more efficient. The more efficient they make it, the more fragile it is.
I forgot to mention, I did run a call. Another carrier company referred them to us. It's a company I used to work for.
Oh yeah, how'd that job go?
So I sold that job. And hey, check us out. So he's like, well, if you think my prices are unfair, call Jarbo's and Bryant and he gave him one other company that's normally higher than him. Okay. So this guy has an infinity furnace that's oversized, and I proved that to him. And the duct pressure is a bit high, and I offered to reinstall the furnace for him correctly. I actually got the installation manual and showed him how the furnace was supposed to be installed. So the guy knows they put the furnace in wrong, like straight up. And he's like, and I was like, what was the company? He told me, and I told him the sales guy's name, and he's like, how do you know him? I said, well, he used to be my boss 12 years ago. and he was like, really? And I said, yeah. And he said all this and that and other, and he tried to show that he was giving you a good deal by calling larger companies, which all the companies he referred to are larger. I said, but what he didn't know is I've sold 300 times my goal this month, so I'm willing to give this to you and not make any money on it. I said, I'm willing to do this and not make any commission on this job if I sell it, which I'll still make 5% on it probably. I just won't get any true up money on it. So I was like, I'm happy to give you the best deal possible. I'm going to call my boss. I'm going to get you the most discount I can give you. Just
if
to
you're ready to make the decision today.
Yeah, I just don't want them to get this job. And he was like, really? And I said, absolutely. And we're a better company, and we're going to offer you just as good of a warranty or better. And he's like, well, I want a 2.5 or full variable. He already has an infinity furnace. I don't want a heat pump. We already talked about everything. No heat pumps. So okay, it's fine. Whatever. No heat pumps. And so he ended up getting a 5-speed. So he wanted to, and I told him, I said, I get you a really good deal on a 2-speed heat pump right now. We bought 100 of last year model, and I can sell it to you for $3,000 less than a standard heat pump right now. And they're 3-ton, and that's what you need is a 3-ton. And it's actually the smallest unit I can put in with the furnace that he has, because he has a 110 in his house.
Oh,
2-stage.
So it would have been a beautiful match.
So I said, well, I can put it, and he has like a 3.5 or a 4-ton in there now. And I didn't even tell him, a whole lot about sizing. I just told him I have heat pumps this size that we bought, and I can save you a bunch of money on them if you're cool with last year's model. And he looked at him. He's like, nah, I'm just going to go with the air conditioner. I said, okay, that's fine. So I could have got him that heat pump for less
than he paid for an air conditioner.
He paid for an air conditioner, more money. But he ended up going to the 5-speed anyway. So, but he was like, I probably won't go full, greenspeed intelligence. He's been reading all the he's been on Carrier's website a lot, but he has a Train AC with that Carrier furnace. And then his mom called me earlier, and she was freezing. She said it's too cold in the house, so I had to walk her through how to turn the overcool off because it was dehumidifying and she was too cold. That's what she was telling me.
Geez, too bad you don't have reheat dehumidification on that.
I know. She was freezing though. She's like, it's just so cold in there, Ronnie. I turned it up. It just keeps running.
Yeah. Complain to your son about how you need reheat dehumidification.
And he's pretty old too. So his mom is like, he was calling her his secretary, is what he was calling her. But,
how funny.
But she said she overlooked her company because she just, she was calling Carrier dealers for her son. And she just overlooked us for some reason. She don't know why. She just did. And he actually referred her to us.
Oh, nice.
So, but he didn't know that I was going to be there, and he didn't know, we were in, I've actually taken 2 jobs from him this month, that company. And
oh my God, you're going to stop and visit him. So Ronnie and I talked about this, and I suggested a $20 gift card to Chipotle.
I am gonna buy him a gift card. I'm gonna run it up there and give it to him. But the other one I sold for more money than I charged them more. But they got better equipment
and a better install,
and they got fresh air. So
better.
He was talking about the odors, and he said he was getting this ready. His daughter was gonna be moving in it like next month, and he wanted to be sure that she has like some autoimmune disease or something. And the neighbors are smokers, and he wanted to, it's a condo also, and he wanted to try to,
pressurize.
Well, he just said he needed to figure out some way to not, to help with the smoke not getting in the place.
Yeah.
Or to get rid of it. And I was like, well, we can do a bunch of ways to get rid of it. And I'm sure they offered you ozone and UV lights and all this stuff to do it. And he's like, yeah. I was like, well, have they talked to you about positive fresh air? And he's like, well, you can't do that. It's a condo, and there's no way to get the pipe out. I said, well, you have this 6-inch pipe going straight all the way up. I said, I can fish a pipe down inside that or a flexible duct through there, and we can run out the either the roof or the gable end, whichever works better. Just get it approved for the HOA, and he did. And I ended up being $2,000 higher than them, but he was getting fresh air.
Right.
They were offering Remy halos and stuff that, and I said, yeah. And by the way, that has bipolar ionization built on the end of that ultraviolet light that he offered you. And
ozone's not good for somebody with the autoimmune.
And he knows that. This guy's he's an engineer, so he understood pressurization, and really liked that. And he liked that I climbed around in the attic and found the pipe, and I ran a fish tape down it to be sure that we could even pull it and all that stuff before we ever sold the job to him. I went a little extra on that one just because, again, I didn't want that company to get that job.
That's awesome.
So it's awesome, 2 of them that
Well, congratulations. It's so super satisfying. This is working so well for you.
He also shared their quote with me, and they were selling new construction equipment on a replacement job, which is against the rules with Carrier.
Oh boy.
Because they're buying that equipment for new construction pricing, and it had the model numbers on the quote.
Oh boy.
So I forwarded them to the Carrier rep too. Sure did.
Oh my gosh. Busted. All right, Tanner. Did you have some? Do we have time to go into the thing you want to talk about, or you want to do it next time?
We may just save it for next time, given we're already an hour and 10.
Okay, and we'll know more next time too, won't we?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so shall we end the stream and then have a little bit of after party for as long as people want to hang around?
Sounds good to me.
Thank you, folks, for coming, and see you in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Summertime hours.
Yep. See everybody. Thank you for coming.
Bye-bye.